ladies, how are you doing? And welcome to Mindful Mums webinar part 4. I can't believe we've reached part 4.
My
How
God,
you
we're
doing,
1st of
Will?
December. Not too bad. 1st of December as well.
I
Can't
know.
believe it. Can't believe it.
I know. The naughty little elf came out this morning. He's back with a bump.
What's it, your husband or
No, you have hey Beverly, how you doing? We have Elf on the Shelf. Have you seen Elf on the
Oh
Shelf?
yeah,
The
yeah,
kids.
yeah.
Yeah. So 1st of December he comes out and he's watching what the children are doing throughout December.
Oh,
And
he's a
if they've
naughty
been
stick.
good, that's it. If they've been good, then Father Christmas delivers the presents.
Yeah.
If they haven't been very good, then unfortunately they get, what do they get? Black coal, is it?
Yeah. When they get to 15, they stop believing all that, by the way. Just to give you a
I know, love them. Oh, I don't want it to stop. I don't want it to stop. Well, welcome everybody. We're on webinar part 4. And today we're going to be talking about clarity, knowing where you're going and how to get there. So we're all about helping you suppress your doubt, your worry, your negative mindset, and better manage your thoughts and your emotions, so that you build confidence, you build self-esteem, and you can live a life without feeling completely overwhelmed by nagging anxiety. And myself and Will, we're all about growth and growing ourselves so we can better ourselves and achieve all our heart desires. One of the greatest gifts that I've had over the last few years, meeting the lovely 𝗲𝗓, but it's really understanding and learning about personal development, and it has just changed everything. It's really changed everything, and I believe that all stems from our thinking, how we see things, awareness, and our thinking around ourselves, around what we want and how we go about achieving it. And that's why me and Will got together, because we really want to help mums um, just understand personal development and be able to implement certain tools or techniques that are going to help them move forwards in life, progress, and get to where it is that they want to go. So, Will, have you got anything to add before we jump in to today's topic around clarity?
Yeah, morning, Emma. And everyone watching today, whether it's live or recorded. The thing to remember is that the next few years, if we're going to really hold our stuff together, I mean, it's insane out there, isn't it? You know, we struggle to keep our fingernails on the train some days, literally. And I think what we've got to appreciate is that everyone will tell them. So I've been here before many years ago. You've been here before a few years ago, Emma. We tell ourselves we haven't got the time for this, don't we? We haven't got time for personal development. We haven't got time to read self-help books. We haven't got time to journal. We haven't got time to slow down. But here's the fact. I've done this for a long time. You know, I started personal development in 1999 after my near death, because I had a near death experience, which was basically a wake-up call. I
Will,
believe all, yeah.
I don't want to jump in, but can you tell us about that? Because I found this so inspiring. Do you mind sharing it?
Yeah, so I'll try and not go too far down the rabbit hole. We've all got a story, haven't we? And yeah, mine was a kind of, my life really up to 1999 was, I was in my early 30s, kind of living a life of faster, quicker, more, big holidays, big cars, always about the next kind of achievement, promotion after promotion after promotion. Basically, you get to an age where you so-called reach everything you've ever dreamed of, but I was unhappy and my drinking was getting worse and the stress levels were getting worse. And the best way to kind of describe that time in 99 when I had that near death experience, when I was washed off a sea wall in Dawlish. For anyone that knows Dawlish, there's a sea wall between Teignmouth and Dawlish, and then there's one between Dawlish and Dawlish Warren. And I was just cycling my bike, and a freak wave came over and took me in. And up to that point, what I'd realized is that I was living a life that was outwardly rich but inwardly poor. And so, you know, luckily, I won't go into details. Literally, I did survive that event. It took 2 hours. I was suffering from hypothermia. Someone rescued me. They spotted me with a telescope that they'd borrowed that day. So talk about a life-changing experience of a miracle. You know, that was a genuine miracle. That guy had been, you know, asking his friend in the block of flats where he lived for 9 months to borrow a telescope. And on the very afternoon of the day that that I was sucked off the sea wall by a freak wave, by the way, on my bike, he happened to set his telescope up and he spotted me in the water, and the rest was kind of history. So where I'd got to in that point of my life is that I was pretending to the world that everything was great. I had the great lifestyle. To a lot of people where we lived in Dawlish, everyone thought we had a fantastic family, a fantastic lifestyle. But like a lot of life, and we're kind of coming to this conclusion nowadays, Emma, aren't we? That so much is not about what we see; it's what's really going under the surface. I now, all these years later, coach a lot of TV people, influencers, footballers, MPs. I can tell you what you see on the TV and what you see on their influence feeds is nowhere near what is going on under the surface. They are suffering,
Reality.
especially the women influencers that I coach, they're suffering more stress, more anxiety, more trepidation. So that's a different world. But I think what the point I was going to make was that we tell ourselves that we haven't got time for self-development, for personal development, for journaling. We have, because think about it logically, you either spend the time up front, like me and you now believe in, Emma, or you spend all that time mopping up a life that you don't want anyway.
Yes.
So what you've got to do is shift the emphasis from drama, shoveling up, picking up, sweeping up all the rubbish, to putting it front and center where I'm going to put the effort in now to stop the problems from happening further down the line.
Intention, right?
Yeah, shift. You've got to shift your attention.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that brings us, and I thank you so much. I didn't mean to butt in then, but I remember you telling me that story a few years back, and when I heard it, I was like, bloody hell, it was really insane. Like you say, that he just got that telescope that day, and he was looking out and just saw you struggling in the water. But it's funny, isn't it? Or it's not funny at all, but how I met up with a friend yesterday, and she had a stroke. So she's in her 60s, but she had a stroke when she was, I want to say, in her 40s. But there was a lot going on in her life at the time. She wasn't very happy. There was a lot of distance with her and her husband. And she had this stroke, and they rushed her to hospitals. It goes on a little bit, but I'll just give you the basics. They rushed her to hospital, and when they got her to the hospital, they basically just said, she's not going to live. She's got like a 10% chance of making it. I don't know what happened, but for some reason there was a phone call to another hospital. Like, I don't know how far it was, a good couple of hours drive away, and they blue lighted her to that hospital, and they operated on her. She had a big bleed in her brain, at the front of her brain. They operated on her, and she survived. And I was chatting to her yesterday, and we were talking about stuff. And she said to me, as horrendous as that was, and it was a really horrible time. Her marriage broke up after that. She was very poorly for quite a while. She wouldn't change it for the world, because she said it taught her, it just changed her. She said it just changed my sort of inner being, in effect. I started to see things a bit differently. And by the sounds of it, that was exactly the same thing for you. So being able to gain that clarity, I mean, God forbid, I'd hate anyone to have to go through that kind of traumatic event to gain clarity. But if there's a way, which is what we want to talk about today, of gaining clarity without having to experience something like that, then that's got to be the best way to go about it, right?
Don't forget, I'm talking about big near-death experiences, which became a fascination for me because I studied with the world's top researchers into near-death experiences, and what they have all come to the conclusion overwhelmingly is that near-death experiences are a wake-up call. A wake-up call that says that your life is on the wrong direction, it's on the wrong path, you're not living to your full potential, you're kind of faking it, to make it. And actually think about this. What we've gone through with the pandemic is what I would call a mini near-death experience. How many priorities have people changed now in their life? They're more into relationships, they're more into my family and not having 4-hour commutes to London and back, which we know people, friends, Emma, don't we, that are doing that every day. So we've all gone through a near-death experience, a mini near-death experience. And what we've got to do is realize that if you study the science of near-death experiences that I've done, there's a period of, you have the near-death experience, 2-year pandemic, you go through a middle ground where there's a lot of confusion, that's called the post-traumatic stress stage in the middle. And then the third stage on the other stage of the bridge is the good bit, and this is why it's worth putting the work in, is post-traumatic growth. There's a science growing now about post-traumatic growth. So anyone listening today, anyone watching today, watching the recording, no matter how much stuff you are going through at the moment, and it might be confusing and scary, and you're going through uncertainty, unfamiliar, uncomfortable, let me hold my hand on my heart and tell you, if you stick with it and go through the storm, no matter how bad it seems at the minute, and do the work, it will eventually give you gold, and that gold will be post-traumatic growth. You will take yourself to the other side of that bridge, where you are going to go to the island of a different life that you've come from.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thanks for that, Will, and thanks for sharing your story. So, how do we go about bringing clarity into our life?
So where do we start? So I looked up this morning the word clarity. So, clarity is really about transparency, isn't it? It's about seeing through. It's about crystal clear, crystal clear water. When you see through a pond or a river, it's lovely when you get that clarity and you can see the bottom of the river and the fish. And so it's about revealing, it's about defining the purpose. So how can we possibly know, and this is my kind of statement to everyone here today, is how can we know where to go when we can't even see clearly of what's going on right now? So that's what we've got to define. Now, the example I always use is you go in your car and you set your sat nav, Emma, to go back to Essex. If your sat nav, where you are in Devon now, cannot get a download, a signal of where you are right this moment, it will not let you plot a route back to Essex. So what I want to say to people is, too often we read these books about law of manifesting, law of attraction. They're all good, lots of them, self-help, but we're missing out the fundamental that we can't decide where we want to go because most people don't know who they are yet, where they are. So we're going to do a little exercise towards the end of today. So please stick around, because I've got a little exercise that I've developed with the hand where we can really, literally, we've got to first of all find out who we are, where we are, before we look at where we want to go, our intentions for the future. And I think too many people, they make up what they think they want. And I see this with influencers and actors and certain high performers that I coach. They've got this fixed vision. They think they're being clear, this fixed vision of where I want to go, who I want to become on the way. When they get there, they're like, oh, I don't feel very different. And the problem is they didn't feed the needs. We've all got needs, relationship needs, emotional needs. I always say to people, high performance isn't high performance if it's at the expense of your significant relationships, and if it's at the expense of your emotional, mental, and physical well-being. I will say to people, I'm not going to call you a high performer, and they get quite arsy, because they are a high performer at the tech of their field. But I say, I'm doing a podcast this morning with the ex-England rugby captain, Stevie Ward, rugby league. And me and him have talked about that. And that's what we're talking about this afternoon, is that high performance is not high performance. So top achieving, living a fulfilling life is not fulfilling. It can't be fulfilling if you smash up all your relationships. You don't know your children, you have a bad relationship with your husband or wife, or your mental health is bad, or your physical health is bad, or your emotional health is bad. And we've got to kind of coming back to the purpose, clarity thing, we've got to really shut down. If we want to get clear on who we are, where we are, because that's honesty, isn't it? If we want to get clear on where we then want to go afterwards, we have to shut down the external, what I call external noise. Now, what is external noise? External noise is too much phone time. External noise is too much stimulation, too much sugar, too much doing stuff, being something, racing around. Too much radio. Like if you're really doing some good work, journal work, and you're kind of, switch the radio off, because even the radio in the background is still static, and subconsciously you are kind of taking it in. Multitasking is external noise. Trying to Jane last week had a client. My wife Jane had a client in the car who said, "Oh, I'm driving through a city and I'm going to do my coaching lesson." Jane said, "No, we're not going to have a coaching session. I am not going to coach you over the phone." This woman was trying to multitask. Well, she can't concentrate if she's in the middle of a busy city where there's traffic coming every way. So Jane basically said, "No, I'm not going to coach." She got quite bad. She was really put out. But so FOPO. If we keep worrying about fear of other people's opinions, that is static on the line. That's external noise. So if we want to get clarity, we've got to shut down external noise.
And this is the thing, isn't it? Even getting clear on that point, because we see, I think women, and I certainly know, and I'm just talking from experience myself, I used to pride myself on the fact that I was a multitasker. I can do all of these things at once and I've got it all sussed. But inside here, it's like I feel absolutely frazzled. And inside here. But I used to see it as, oh, I can do all of this. It's all manageable and all of this, but be feeling absolute shit because of it. But it's like society values us to be able to do all of these different things and be in all these different places at one time. So we see that as high performance, success.
Badge
I
of
don't
honor.
know.
Badge of
Yeah,
honor. Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, badge of honor. When actually we're feeling like absolute poop.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Um,
yeah, so the clarity bit's got to come in, because if you don't see clearly what's going on inside of you, what's working for you, Emma, what's not working for you, what you're tolerating too much, where you people pleasing too much, you've got to get clear on what's not working, haven't you? What you're struggling with, what you're tolerating. Where you're doing too much. I mean, I've got a list here of too much. I think we talked about this a while back. Go back to that list of too much. We're trying to do it all, be it all. Too much procrastination, too much living in the past, too much living in the future. Go to your too much exercise. That is all external noise. That almost like a film across a lens. When our windows are dirty on the car or at home and we can't see out, we can't see clearly. Especially if it's like lots of mud and rain, on the roads, and we're really panicking because we've run out of water in the water jet, and we can't see clarity, can't see something coming around the bends. Especially for me and you that live down the lanes, in Devon. We need to clean our windscreen metaphor. We need to clean our windscreen so that we can see clearly about where we are, what's going on, who are we.
Oh, that feels so nice.
Yeah.
I did an exercise. I'm on a course at the moment, Will, and I did an exercise on Monday evening. And our teacher got us to sit down, and she said, right, I just want you to sit there, because she wanted to see how comfortable we felt with sitting in silence. Which I suppose for me, I would sit in silence for a bit of time if I'm doing a bit of deep breathing, or if I'm listening to a bit of, doing a meditation or something like that. But that's what I do. That's part of my routine. That feels comfortable. But she got us in this exercise to sit in silence. I want to say it wasn't for that long. It might have been 5 minutes, but it was so interesting what came up for me at that time, being around having other people in that environment. And how initially my mind was ping ponging all over the place. And then I became really aware of everything, like all these different noises. And then it was like I hit a place where and this was within 5 minutes, I hit a place where I felt, I don't know, I just felt really connected to my heart. Like I was just really relaxed and felt really calm. And I'd not felt that really, I'd not experienced that through my meditation. So it was fabulous. So I think, like what you said, doing the too much exercise and maybe just sitting with that for a period of time, seeing how it feels, and what comes up. Because I think we've got all the answers inside us, right? We just don't hear them because we're so busy and there's so much noise going on.
Yeah. See it like static on the line. When you've rung someone, a friend, family, and we use different mediums now, don't we? Sometimes we ring on WhatsApp, sometimes we ring on the phone, sometimes we ring on, Messenger. We're using all these different, and sometimes for whatever reason, the line's really kind of noisy, isn't it? And you'll say, like, Dad, can I ring you back, on a different line? That static is our mind. That is that noise. That's that worry. What if this? What if that? Future, past, worry. That is all static on the line. And if you can calm everything, like you've just said, that's why meditation practice is so important. You remember the one that we done a couple of episodes ago with the meditation where me and you closed our eyes and went back to a place, a happy place, where we could actually start to feel it. Elements of that, what you felt in your body, that elation, that aha moment, that everything's at peace with the world, I'm connected to the world. That's the benefits of meditation. Now, I know some people say, I can't do meditation. Well, if you can't do meditation, do that practice that we did a few episodes ago, where everybody can remember a good, happy place where it might be their kids having their children, we're getting married. We've all got happy place that we can go back into and live there again. So you can meditate. It's just you've told yourself you can't meditate.
And I haven't got time. There's always I haven't got time. What I loved about that exercise that we did as well, Will, which we've all got a beating heart, right? And what you did in that exercise was you made us think of something that filled us with joy, like a happy, I suppose, elevated emotion, if you like, and got us to connect to our heart. And it was significant. And I think, like, we've all got that. So even if you don't want to sit there in silence, or you feel that you can't meditate, just sit down for a couple of minutes, think of something that makes you feel good, and just breathe in and out of your heart.
Connect with
That
your
will
heart.
just calm everything down, right?
Put your hand on your heart. I mean, do it now, as a little exercise. Just put your hand on your heart and just kind of, with your thoughts, just tell yourself, I love you. I love you. I love you. And, a lot of people can't do that in the mirror.
It feels
We call it a mirror
uncomfortable.
exercise, and yet when you do, I love the statement, I'm fabulously flawed, because I think we're all flawed. I love the statement, we're perfectly imperfect.
Perfect.
And, and the thing I think with the heart is that when we've got the hand on the heart and we're really feeling it and closing our eyes and thinking of better things, we know that there's an intelligence in there, that we've got all the answers. It's just we've never slowed down to reflect. If you can't meditate, grab a coffee, grab a tea, herbal tea, whatever your thing is, and just sit for 5 minutes with your notepad or your journal and create the mind space to just start making some lists. I'm not talking about overthinking. Overthinking is procrastinating. We've got to imagine that there's two types of thinking, isn't there, Emma? There's procrastinating, where more thinking is getting you deeper and deeper into the mire. Or are you thinking to kind of release yourself and go up higher, to get out of a situation, to kind of, get out of that trap, to kind of be free again, to get a resolution, to get momentum, which is what we're always talking about, getting momentum in our life.
I love that, Will. Okay. I think I'm going to pull up a slide, because the next question I wanted to come to you with that came into me was that, and I think COVID was, I want to say is responsible for this in a good way. A lot of people throughout COVID got to reflect a bit on what it was that they were doing, maybe working, running, traveling up and down to London, whatever it was, and actually got to a point where they were like, do I even really want to do this? So a question that came into me was like, they wanted to do something. These women, they had this opportunity to be at home, to maybe reflect, maybe thinking to themselves, I want to learn a new skill, or I would like to try something different. And they want to do something that makes them feel good. And that makes them feel like they're going somewhere, rather than they're caught in this hamster wheel where they just feel they're reliving the same day over and over again. And all right, it might be giving them things, it might be enabling them to do things, but they don't feel like they're progressing, they don't feel like they're growing, and they feel pretty dead inside. And where do they start in light of that?
So when we have a look at the Ikigai model, which you're going to put up now, I think we can show that. There we go. So, right. So, what we've got to look at is imagine that there is a north, east, south, west node of a compass. So, look at the green at the top. What do you love? That's your north, right? So, your north is literally like if you pick a compass up and you live by your true north. I always say to people, if you are true to yourself and live by your true north compass, which is how you feel, what you think, what your values are, what your standards are, you know, think always about what is my true north. Now, our true north is often around love. What do we love to do? Who do we love? You know, love is the most powerful, potent kind of force in the universe. We kind of underplay it, especially unconditional love. You know, it's all seen as a bit kind of hippie and a bit kind of, you know, purple edges and all the rest of it. But actually, unconditional love is what they use in hostage taking situations. You know, I've studied with hostage takers. You know, love, unconditional love is something that they use there. You know, peace settlements. You know, when you study peace countries doing peace settlements to come together and end war, they actually use unconditional love. So we're talking about a powerful force here. So the question is, you get your journal or a piece of paper, and that first one on the north node is, what do you really love to do? What do you really love to do? What lights your heart up with passion? You know, because love is passion in, you know, in expressed. So love expressed is passion. So if you feel it, because when you said what makes me feel good, what I hear is what makes me feel alive. What makes me
Yeah.
feel alive? Because
Yeah.
your feelings are your barometer. Your feelings are, imagine the dashboard. We've all got a dashboard on our life vehicle. Well,
Mm.
feelings are literally the instruments on our dashboard that are telling us what's going on underneath the bonnet. So
Mm.
feelings are our barometer. What do we love? And you know, Emma, that you, well, you know, what do you love to do? Give a couple of examples, you know, just to put some meat on the bones.
Yeah. So for me, I love learning about this stuff. This stuff just makes me feel good because I understand that it's all within our capabilities.
Yeah.
I love people. I love being
Mm,
around people and making new friends and chatting to people. And again, hearing people's stories. I value friendship very, very much. So I'm always asking myself, how can I be a better friend to somebody else, right? How can
yeah.
I support that person with whatever it is they're going through or whatever? Because I value that. And I've got some amazing people in my life that I know if I get stuck or if I get a bit caught up or, you know, whatever, I can tap into them or I can message them, I can call them. And I know they're there, you being one of them. So that's what I love. Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So, you know, another form of love, you know, there are several different types of love. What we're talking about is there's love of life, there's love of people, there's romantic
Mm,
love. The problem with
mm,
love is that it gets one-sided, you know, one-sided opinion. People think of love as
yeah.
just a romantic love.
And tick.
But
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
love of our animals, there's love of our children, there's love of our
Yes.
kind of life, there's love of our where
Yes.
we live, you know. So look, work with your journal and, you know, find out what makes you feel alive inside. That is love in action. What feeds your soul?
Mm.
You know, what really feeds you inside? Because if love is what lights you up from the inside, let's move on to the east node. Um, um, sorry, yeah, the east node is what does the world need? So you look at the purple there on the east. What does the world need? Now that is purpose. So
Mm.
if passion is north, you know,
Mm.
what do you love? Purpose is what you want to give back to the
Mm.
world. So it's what, you know, what do you want to give back as service? Because we are, you know, there are certain things that as children we adapt and collect up as we go through our life. So a child comes into our life at 1 day old and they are already having some hard wiring. You don't teach children about love and purpose, you know, doing good things for other people. If you notice, your kids naturally are hardwired with love and wanting to do things for other people. So we're not taught that. We come in already hardwired. We're like a computer, you know, factory setting. And what we've got to appreciate is that as we go through life, most of our love, passion, north, and purpose, east, if we haven't got purpose and passion, it's because it's been beaten out of us. We actually came in with it. That's what our gift was. And if anything, we've kind of lost the love and lost the passion and the purpose. So reconnect, because busy life nowadays tends to batter love and batter purpose and passion out of us. So what we're looking about is re-emerging, reimagining, and looking at exercises that, if purpose is what I want to give back to the world of service, what makes me feel really good? You mentioned it with some friends. I love to see what I can do for others. That's inherent. That's hardwired into us. When you feel good about doing things for other people, it's because you're just going with your true nature. I mean, evil and psychopath is different. That's, they haven't got that capacity. They've gone so dark that they've kind of that flame of love, passion, and purpose, service. They've kind of extinguished that flame. It was there at the beginning, but obviously evil and psychopath kind of, got rid of it. Now, work out what really feels purposeful for you. And then, just to quickly kind of round it up, what we're looking at is, the South Node, what can you be paid for? So it's great. Sometimes you might be talking about you don't need to get another job. But if you're looking at turning your side hustle, your side hustle and your extra passion and purpose into something you can get paid for as well, which is what me and you do, look at what can I be paid well for? What do I need? What do I need to, what do other people need that I've got solutions to help overcome their problems? Keep it really simple in your journal. All you've got to do is look at what makes my secret self, what's my secret essence, and that's sort of bringing it into the West Node then, what am I good at? We are so bad, and I see this from mums all the time, and you would as well, Emma. Mums are great at telling themselves the 3 things that they're not good enough at.
Yes.
And yet the 100 things that they're brilliant at, they won't even bring onto the table.
No, it's like, there's like a fear around it, isn't there? Because they don't want to seem boastful, or, like they're blowing their own trumpet and other people will talk about them. So it comes back to this fear of other people's opinions. If you're there to, if you're there, not gloating, because it's not gloating at all, but just sharing, sharing, I suppose, your best qualities, what you see, you see good,
Strengths.
Strengths, sharing your strengths. And it's upsetting in a way, actually. Do you know what? For a long time, Will, as well, and I see this, and I pick up on this now, because I've had to work at not doing this. But if someone paid me a compliment, I'd always put it down. So if someone said, "Oh, you look lovely," I go, "Oh, this old thing. I love your jumper. Oh, this old thing. I bought it from, wherever, Primark or whatever. Or your hair looks nice. Oh, I had it done the other week, but I don't like this." It's like there's always a negative when someone used to offer a positive. And I notice it so much now, because I've had to work really hard to just go, shut up, thank you.
Accept it.
Someone,
it's a gift.
That's it. If someone pays me a compliment, thank you, rather than trying to belittle it.
Yeah. Why do we
And
do
it's
it?
some kind of conditioning that all of us mums tend to have, and we tend to do. And I just think, even if we could gain clarity on that and start there, that would be a great place to start. Just accepting the compliments that people pay you, rather than having to put them down.
Compliments are gifts, and if you've trained your mind not to accept those gifts of called compliments, guess what? You're gonna turn them away every time they get delivered on your doorstep. As an exercise, start to notice where you're getting compliments and just say, thank you, great. That's all you have to say. If you don't want to put too much more on it, just say thank you, and then really enjoy that gift, because it's a gift.
Yeah.
And yet the problem is, if you only ever give out but don't give in, there's an imbalance there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because what it's doing, what a gift, a compliment is doing, is feeding your self-worth, your self-love, your
Yes.
self-compassion, your
Yes.
self-respect,
Yes.
your self-value. That's what it's feeding. Now, if you don't feed it, like a plant in the corner of the office I've got here, if I don't feed the plant, it's going to die. Well, you need to feed your self-compassion and self-care and self-love. And that's what compliments do. As well, don't forget that's external compliments. We're talking as well, you've got to talk to yourself nicely from the inside. So it's an inside
Yeah.
outside job, isn't it?
Yeah. And I love this model. There's actually a book on this that we've both read, haven't we, Will? And I know you talk about this ikigai as well in your book that you wrote, Create Your Own Life Story. But if anyone wants to learn a bit more about this, there is a book actually called Ikigai. There's so many videos on YouTube about Ikigai, helping you work through this process and just gain clarity on, asking you relevant questions, but gaining clarity on the things that you love.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
rest of it. So, yeah, if you,
It's beautiful book, and if I could
yeah,
kind of
it
put it
is.
in just in very brief terms, ikigai is about as mothers I coach at all levels, all ages. If there's one thing a mother often does more than not, is it's easy to lose your identity in your family and your children, isn't it?
Yes,
This is
yeah,
what we're talking about. And
yeah,
what ikigai does, ikigai is like your kind of life force, your creativity, your expression. Because what I find with a lot of women clients when I've come on at the beginning of their coaching process is they don't know how to express their divinity, their creativity, their womanhood, their
yeah, yeah,
magic.
yeah,
And if you don't express your inner world,
yeah,
it kind of goes barren and dies. So what ikigai is,
yeah,
it's like life force. It's about, an energy game. It's about you being an adventurer, an explorer, and hero of your own journey that
yeah,
goes out, gets brave, finds courage to try out the new. Now,
mm,
the new might be the old that you've just kind of neglected because you always cut yourself the last piece of the pie before you've given the rest to everyone else, your friends,
mm,
family, husband, wife, children. And then, oh, I'll take a bit of pie if there's any left for me. That's literally the metaphor that a lot of people are living, isn't it? We don't
mm,
honor ourselves.
no,
Mothers don't honor themselves, and actually they've got to realize that there are certain signals coming in that are showing you. We were talking about this yesterday, weren't we, Emma? That you know um, if you are uninspired, if you're lethargic, if you're tired a lot, if you're feeling flat and kind of don't really feel anything, if you feel boredom, these are all good life signals, signs on your
yeah,
dashboard. Don't
yes,
take it that
yes,
there's something wrong with you. They're
no,
they're asking you to wake up.
yeah, yeah. I love that. We all need to feel like we're progressing, don't we? I feel that. I feel like, yeah,
Progress.
yeah, it's like being a mum, and I'm just going back now to after having, say, Ruby. So she's my third. I think society does, like I say, put the pressure on us that we've got to be all of these different things
Mm,
and do all of these different things. And I think social media promotes that, or doesn't promote that, but exaggerates that as well, because we're very quick to look at what everybody else is doing and see them maybe achieving and doing all these things, and then we're comparing where we are to where they are, and if we're not matching up with that, we feel that we're not worthy.
mm,
Um, but going back to after having Ruby, yeah, I feel I was at a point, uh, and there was a few things that happened, but I just got this real urge to want to move forward and to grow. I wasn't too sure how or what that looked like, but there was definitely this urge to move and to grow. And I struggled for a little while after having Ruby, because I got into doing something that didn't really feel like it. Well, it didn't fit. It didn't fit with where I was at. And I didn't look at this. I wasn't even aware of this at the time, but it wasn't necessarily something that I loved looking at this. Um, and I pushed myself to do it because of the comparison and seeing what everyone else was doing, but actually just felt really sort of dead inside and a bit numb and a bit like,
No, that's the one.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I suppose it was overwhelming because I'm trying to do all of this stuff, but it wasn't aligned with what I suppose I valued.
yeah,
And I think there's a lot of women and a lot of mums that are feeling that at the moment. They're just very uncertain, um, and just numb, unhappy with where they're at. So this exercise is a fantastic one to undertake. And again, it gives you clarity, doesn't it?
yeah. And don't just stick to those 4 questions. Any question that you write down on a bit of paper or in your journal, the brain is very curious and it will
Mm,
go hunting. So, the reason you get it out of your head onto paper, write it down, you actually look at it differently. So, another question might be, what am I tolerating way too much of at the moment? What a great word, tolerating. What am I tolerating? Where is dissatisfaction in my life right now? Where am I feeling numb and empty and dead?
mm,
These questions will kickstart your brain, because the brain's like a hungry kind of dog, lusting after a bone. It wants to get its teeth into stuff,
mm,
So the minute you kind of fire the question out there, all you've then got to do is start listening, because your feelings and your thoughts are going to bubble up that
mm.
answer to the question if you allow it enough space and time.
That's the thing, isn't it? We tend to ask ourselves all the wrong questions.
Yeah, yeah. But I always say to clients, the quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. It's that simple. The
Mm,
quality of your questions. If you ask yourself big enough questions about your life, you're going to get big enough answers. If you keep the answers small and attached to drama, then your life's going to be one kind of drama of keeping small, isn't it? And playing small.
yeah, and that's leading into this next question that I have for you, and the other slide that I know you're going to want me to bring up, which is the comfort zone slide. So once someone's established, so say if there's anyone listening to this and they're going, this sounds great, they're looking at the Ikigai, they've gone through that exercise, they're starting to feel like they're gaining some clarity. Once someone's established where they're heading, how do they go about actually getting there, especially when they're feeling scared and fearful? So it's great getting it all down on paper and getting that clarity and getting that understanding. But then at some point, they need to clear their mind so they can start taking action, right? They actually got to start doing the do to move them closer to where it is that they want to go. Because
Yeah.
unless we take action, we're never going to get anywhere. We've got to change what we're doing. Otherwise, we're not going to see the change. Okay. So how can they start moving towards what it is that they want?
So the thing to remember when we start a change process, a change program, a personal development kind of practice, and it should be for all of us. We should be teaching our kids this,
Yeah.
like we should be teaching them about how to deal with emotions. We should be teaching them how to deal with money, but we don't, and yet we'll end up
No.
living the consequences of that all through our life. So
Yeah.
where we've got to start is that we realise that there are almost like sort of night and day, kind of above and below. The below bit, almost imagine like our logo and the company, one of the companies that we run is Be Well and Thrive. The logo is
Yes.
the roots are half the logo, and then the trunk of the tree, and then the blossoming of the leaves above. Now,
Lovely.
change is a bit like that. That's why we chose that logo. If you get the root bit first, so what you need to be looking at in the roots is everything that you don't see. So everything that you don't see in your life is your thoughts, your feelings, your perceptions, your beliefs, your desires, your wants, your needs. All of that is stuff that is, out of the limelight. You can't see it. So if, for
Yeah.
instance, you start to wake up and identify what's not working in your life, and start
Yeah.
to join the dots and get understanding about where your life is not moving in the right direction. It's numb, it's dead, it's lifeless.
Yeah.
Great, brilliant. You've got what's called insight. You've got insight
Yes.
and wisdom now of what's not working for you. Now,
Yeah.
if you stay in the ground and don't take it any further, you are going to be very frustrated, because now you're even more frustrated than before, because
You're
actually
aware. Yeah.
ignorance was bliss, Emma, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, now you know what's not working and
Yeah.
still not doing anything. So once you've got the insight, the wisdom, the understanding, the learning of what is happening, what's not happening, where things are coming apart, what's not working, where you're tolerating stuff too much, now you've got to, it's an imperative, you've got to do the work, because otherwise you're going to be more frustrated, because you now know what's not working. So, blind spots are great. Ignorance is bliss. It's great that you didn't even know what you didn't know. Well, now you do know, you've got to do the work. So the work is the tree trunk. The work is the blossom of the leaves, because that is the work of where are you going to start changing the way you think, the way you feel, the way you act, and what you say. Always think of those 4 modules, because that is literally the bedrock of behavior change.
Can you
If
just
you say
repeat
to me,
those 4?
yeah, so you've got to be thinking, it's your thinking. Number 1, you're thinking. Number 2 is the way you feel, emotions.
Yeah.
Number 3 is what you do,
Yeah.
action. And number 3 is what you say. Now, what I mean by say is, what do you say to both yourself? That's your internal dialogue. But what do you outwardly express to others? So there's 2 ways of talking going on here. Now, if you say you want to change certain habits and certain ways that you live, you have got to be very, very mindful and catch yourself that if you keep if nothing changes, nothing changes. So you've got to change old thought patterns. You've got to change old drama emotions that aren't working for you anymore. You've got to change your actions. You've got to change what you say to both yourself and others. This is keeping behavior change to an absolute kind of golden nugget, simple, paint by numbers. I'm giving you it, paint by numbers. This is simple. It's not complex. Don't make it harder than it is.
Yeah.
And coming back to the comfort zone, what we're really saying is that don't try and go from that inner little gray area right to the external, the black. Don't try and go through all the zones too quickly. Make a list, and this is what we talked about a couple of shows ago. Make a list of the things on that darker gray area, which is the fear zone first, so that you get a little bit out of your comfort zone. You get a little bit uncomfortable. You get a little bit unfamiliar and unknown. Don't go from one extreme, which is, fear level 2, to fear level 10, red, bells going off, the whole thing.
The life out yourself.
Jumping out of a plane when you don't like heights, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Start off and gradually, like layers of the onion, just go one after another. And literally, if I was to say to you, Emma, now, look at the things that you do naturally without even thinking about it, like jumping on to do a live. Me and you today, good example. We had a tech problem, right? Tech problem 1 minute before we're going to go live, right? Right. 10 years ago, for me, I would have been freaking out on the inside, right? A few years ago, you would have been freaking out, right? So we've trained ourselves to face that kind of pressure before going live. I do that with my influencers as well. You look at these influencers that I coach on, TV, TV in the morning, and they're kind of doing different things. They were actually the same years ago. If I started coaching them at the beginning, which some of them I have, they were really paranoid about the red light going on in a TV studio, and their heart rate would go up, and they'd fluff their lines, and that kickstarts a whole chain reaction of kind of nerves and anxiety. Well, do it little and often. You wouldn't expect to go in front of Wembley Stadium of 50,000 people and talk if you've never even done it of a studio of 50 people. So start small and keep working out, and keep a list of all the things to break through your comfort zone.
I love that, Will. And then that's the whole confidence, isn't it? Building the confidence, building the self-esteem, building the self-love.
Self-belief.
Self-belief, because then you start looking back and reflecting on what you've done, and how you've moved past a difficult situation or a tough conversation, whatever it may be, that you've had to have with someone or whatever. Um, and you see yourself progressing, right? You see yourself growing, you see yourself progressing, and you start to feel good about yourself.
Yeah, this is why me and you are so big on journaling, because if you've had a good experience, let's call it a win, right? You had that conversation with a neighbor that was uncomfortable about, the boundary lines, or the fence or something, the trees, all their leaves falling on your side, whatever it was, you had that uncomfortable and you overcome it in a really good way. You have a courageous conversation with your sister-in-law and it all worked out okay, even though you were nervous beforehand. You had that kind of really awkward conversation with your partner, even though you didn't want to, and you kind of thought about it and it worked really well. When you've got wins, go to your journal and write down the whole thing. Write down the whole thing. This is what happened. This is how I felt. This is how I, overcame it. Because what you need to do is keep that journal as all your good wins, to go back, to give you
Yeah,
confidence, to go,
yeah,
look, there it is. I've done it there, and I've done it there, and I've done it there, and I've done it there. So I can do it. And it will give you confidence knowing that you've done something, broke through something in the comfort zone before, so you can do it again.
yeah. Magic, magic. I can't believe we're at the end of our 4-part webinar. It's been amazing, Will, and thank you so much for being around for us. It doesn't stop here. It doesn't stop here, because there is going to be a what shall I call it? Like a new Mindful Mums Club that's going to be coming into play. We're going to be launching it in the coming weeks. There's going to be lots of valuable content. There's going to be one-on-one coaching available. There's going to be hot seats, masterminds, a bit of spiritual guidance. There's going to be all sorts of stuff that's going to be hugely valuable to you. One thing I'm hugely passionate about with regards to this, though, is having spoke about overwhelm, doubt, procrastination, all these things us mums struggle with. I want to keep it really, really simple, and I want you to be able to make progress. So the last thing we want to do is overwhelm you with too much. So these 4 webinars, they've been full of content. Will's offered us so much information. And I will be breaking this down. This is going to form part of that Mindful Mums Club. I will be breaking this down, and offering it to you in very simple chunks. They say, don't they, how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. So that's what we want to do. We want to be able to really break this down and offer it to you in really simple chunks, so you can take it one step at a time and you can make progress to where it is that you want to go. And like we always say, we believe that if you can master your mindset, if you can work on your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and better manage them, you can ultimately better manage your life. Will, do you want to say anything before we close up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always, for the rest of my life, I'm always going to be a champion on mindset and working on
Mm,
ourselves, because, you know, I think we need to all stop buying into the culture image of perfect mum, perfect partner, perfect worker, perfect. It is bullshit. We have been
mm,
sold the biggest lie from culture about what our expectation levels are. And
mm,
we've got to, if we're going to really get our life into order and aligned to what our real feelings, real desires, too many of us have lost a sense of identity. Who am I anymore? Where am I going? Who do I want to become on the way? And I think what we've got to do is, next year more than ever, next year will be 3 years, of this weird space and place that we're all living in. And I truly believe if we don't get a grip of our mindset, which mindset from my definition is thoughts and feelings, because everyone always thinks mindset is just the head. Well, it's not,
no,
because where do we feel emotions? We feel them in the body,
in our
in
body.
the
Yeah,
in the organs, in the shoulder, in the neck. So
yeah,
mindset for me is thoughts and feelings, and we've got to get a grip on our mindset, because otherwise our life is going to get smashed up. And I think next
yeah,
year, we started the pandemic in March 2020. Let's not forget that a lot of people were close to the edge before that. Before
yes,
that,
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
then we've had all the bleed out from that as well. So make it your year next year to really work on yourself and your mindset. We're going to
Mm.
give you loads and loads of tools because we, as we know, we're both passionately dedicated to, I've got loads of projects coming up with libraries and in Devon libraries next year because I'm passionate about taking more work away from the top end and giving it to people that can use it with basic,
Yes,
non-complex skills,
yes.
and we're going to be around to do that.
So thank you, everybody. I just want to shout out to Jenny because she's been here every single week, Will.
Hey,
She's been
Jenny.
phenomenal. So well done, Jenny. Thanks so much, Beverly. And we are going to catch up with you all very soon. Take care, guys, and we'll see you soon. See you
Take
later.
care. Bye.
Bye.